All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Oregairu, Season 3, Episode 3.
3, that's right, yes.
Oh my god, so
Painful
never wanted anything
revelations.
genuine.
Yeah,
And as you get closer, Yui, to realizing what kind of acts you will need to do in order to win it all, maybe you don't really want that.
But you go for it and you do your best to win it all because you talk the talk, now you just have to walk the walk, and I know it's a lot tougher than what you were expecting, and you're starting to, get scared and everything.
Yeah.
But stay true to the course.
See, I think what this means then is, in a lot of ways, that Season 2 was the realization that she didn't actually want things to change more than she wanted to be with Hachiman. And that's why she never confessed to him.
But this is your chance to grow, and regardless of what happens,
it is a growth opportunity out the wazoo. Absolutely.
Go for it.
But that does not mean...
Go for it recklessly.
That does not mean that the best thing to do would be to, based on what you want. And that's the main thing, Yui, is what do you want?
Right, but you
and
do
it's
have
not
to...
that simple. What do you want, you know?
You do have to acknowledge what you want, because if you live in denial of what you want, then you will lose everything that you have. So...
Yep.
Oh boy. Prom's tomorrow and all that stuff.
Prom is coming.
It's not tomorrow, but it's
like
coming.
winter, eventually.
Yeah.
But it's an American-inspired, Western-esque prom from Iroha's watching of... just high school drama film or something.
And just like winter, it will be all over in a single night.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I had to. But
Yuki, no.
Yeah. And Iroha, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'm impressed. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Alright everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Ooh, it was a good episode.
Okay.
It was a very good episode. So we got a lot of good dialogue with Hachiman and others, basically.
Right.
We went around and had him kind of give the whole ringer to the main kind of cast of sorts, and then a little surprise conversation with Tatsuka Sai, which was like, oh,
yes,
adorableness, wonderful.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that awkward thing of where Sai was like, oh, I'm busy, and I'm not offering another date alternative, and then they kind of just segued from that, which was kind of cool. But
yeah, it felt like it was setting up something for the future of if the show, because it's the final season, is sort of going through all the different side characters and giving them their resolution. This is the beginning of Sai's stages of his resolution, and then the stuff with Hiratsuka Sensei was also kind of
the stuff with
resolution.
Hiratsuka was something that felt even more along those lines than Sai's. Sai's felt more of like a checking in of like, oh wow, our lives have changed a bit and we haven't really talked much in a while, so okay. But Hiratsuka, she's leaving.
She had a cardboard box with stuff in it.
And and the faculty was busy, and of choices to spend your time in this very small scene focusing on, they focused on the fact that the faculty was busy, which is probably them adjusting for the fact that she's either already quit.
Right, change of staff when that definitely
shakes things up a bit.
Shakes things up, yeah.
Yep. It did even seem like there was a possibility they were trying to hint that there were characters there that we shouldn't recognize. Like, there were so many people in the faculty.
They don't usually focus on the other teachers.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Hiratsuka also was about to tell him something and decided against it.
Right.
Which felt like it was a thing of, I don't want to distract you with my life, and I'm usually just here to help you, so I'm not going to just push to tell you this because you're not necessarily inquiring about it.
And while all the other teachers are really busy, Hiratsuka's not, because she's taking a little break.
Just a teeny break.
Just a teeny break.
All right.
Or their troubles are not hers anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very possible it's just this is like, I get to use some days off that,
right,
will be, just, some remaining PTO. She gets to just kind of be here. And maybe the reason why she's still here is, that she's not actually fully done, working here.
Yeah, it's going to be like at the end of the year or something, right?
Yeah. This is just like
She's finishing up school year and
she's got like she's put in her notice already. She's starting to transition a lot of the things out.
Yep.
We'll see where that goes in the future, which is exciting because her character is one of our favorites.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then Iroha. Iroha kinda stole the show this episode.
She did.
She really went all out in that little one-on-one interaction with Hachiman. Oh, sorry. Before we get to that, Komachi
Yes.
succeeded. She
That
did
was
it. She
that was
did
so
it.
wonderful.
Yes.
Like
the voice acting from her, just like Yukio.
yeah.
That was so wholesome.
That was great. And then I can't see the buttons.
tears.
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
Like that was amazing. That was I loved that so much, and it was a great segue in, of course, into the conversation with Iroha and some of the things that she brought up, because you haven't the whole issue with the service club is that you haven't defined the relationships, and as such, the natural thing that it settles into is something that is not sustainable, right? Because
and that's why they're changing things.
And that's why they're changing things, right?
Because they want something sustainable and genuine. But
it also comes from you too, Hachiman, right?
Things,
because they're not your sisters, right? So
right, and yet that's been the thing with Iroha, is that he has kind of just slotted himself into her life in this way since starting to help her with the whole student council
much like
stuff.
she is his little sister, which she does not like.
Which she does
and
not
she
like
makes
at
sure
all.
to remind him that she is not his little sister.
But she is also being a little bit subtle about it in a way that is I would say kind of tripping him up a little bit.
Sometimes.
No, sometimes. But it's the kind of thing where in the beginning, she's starting to kind of give him like little bits of, I think you're a bit overprotective. You kind of have a brother's instincts. And
right, kind of poking at him.
Yeah, keeping in the banter area. But I loved this analogy here. This is something that I know you've experienced at some point, Jacob. At some point. Have you had a point where you liked a girl, and at some point she just said, "You're like a brother to me"? Yeah. And it just kills you immediately, right? It's just one of those things of where you're like, did I screw it up? Did I basically define this in some ways as a, more of a brother-sister dynamic? Or is this something where they kind of said that as a limited
projection? Yeah. Like it's or at least when that happened with me, that's kind of what it felt like, is that, hold on, let's not go there.
Right, right. Yeah, I've had probably really only 2 instances of this. And I had a third instance where it was not really that, but it kind of had a similarity to it. But the first instance of it was something where I didn't confess quick enough. So basically what happened was I ended up becoming friends with a girl. Over the course of the time, developing a bit of an attraction to her, but it wasn't really that strong. Well, in that time, she developed an attraction for me and started sending me signals. I miss all the signals. Right, of course. I'm not going to judge whether they were good or bad signals, but that's just what she said. Later, and I mean like 9 months later, I end up confessing to her, and she's like, "Oh, I just kind of see you as a brother. I really wish you had said something like a year ago, because I did like you, but all this time of you not making any moves, I didn't know what to do, so I don't really see you that way anymore." I'm like, ooh,
damn.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
But then the second time was one of those instances of where it was kind of more along the lines of what you were talking about, where there was a little bit of a mutual, like, ooh, something, a little something, a little bit of a, huh? And then we both just kind of fizzled it out. And then I came back to kind of that whole like feeling side of things like a year later, and was just like, "Hey, is there something here?" And she was just like, ooh, like, I don't know. I don't know, I kind of see you as a brother. And I was like, yeah, I kind of see you as a sister too, but like, I really feel like there's something here, and maybe we could explore that. And it was just this thing of like, I don't know, and I think she could almost hear the lack of conviction in my
in how you
thing of
said
it as well, because I was like,
right,
yeah, like I had already kind of seen her as a sister, but it was like, oh, but we're like really good friends,
right? Things can change, right?
Things can change, yeah. Why don't we basically make a conscious decision to try and give it a look?
If the change has any potential,
right, exactly, and nothing came of it. Basically, we're still good friends, but it was just one of those things where it was like, I don't know. Yeah. So that idea of seeing someone as a close friend and the whole friend zone thing, I really like it in this dynamic in the show because it's relatable, but also I feel like it's because Hachiman has kind of just been around Iroha because he wants to help her. Right. And this is a really like interesting thing, is that Hachiman's never really making the first move in any of these dynamics.
Well, he's
here.
not making the first move in any dynamics in the show.
No. I'm just talking about this one here. Let's keep things in context here.
All right.
In this context here, Iroha keeps coming to him with needs for help.
Sure.
Like it's a thing of where she's almost trying to set him up.
Right. She's pitching him these easy balls, right? You know.
Right, but he's not interested in her.
Right.
And that's the part that's got to be so infuriating for her, right?
Right. And originally it's like, hey, you could theoretically hit this.
That's the whole thing.
Okay, this is a bit easier.
That's the whole thing of the fake rejections, where it's like, oh no, you have to try it later. Right. Sorry.
But then eventually it's just like slowly tossing it right down the plate. You know,
it's not his fault for not liking her.
Oh no, of course not. Yeah.
And it's not his prerogative to basically go, oh, I'm not interested in you.
No.
Like in a lot of ways,
he can handle it however he wants to handle it.
Right, exactly. This is the part where I'm very much on like both of their sides here. Like Hachiman is basically just like, I'm someone who very much cares about you, and I'm wanting to help you in the stuff that you do. And also, we have some really good banter. We have good chemistry in that regard.
Right.
And she gives him the, girls don't like being called sister, and I'm sure you don't like being called older brother and stuff like that. So I'm gonna call you like a father. And it was just like I took major damage from that. I'm like, that one was where it's like, Hachima, do you realize what she's saying?
Yeah. Well,
she's poking fun at it, but she's like, I refuse to see you as a brother.
And in a lot of ways, Iroha is handling this in a really good way, because she's basically saying, hey, I'm not actually doing any true love confessions here, right?
Right.
So we don't have to do any DTR here, but I'm going to do some negative DTR. I'm going to say what this isn't. Or at least I'm going to say what it isn't for me.
Right.
This is not a brother-sister relationship for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's that point where you take the magnifying glass and the point that it's focusing on, that it's reflecting, is too big, and then you adjust it so it narrows it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're Fortnite bubbling this. You guys have to zero it in on what the relationship actually is by removing the external stuff.
Right. And the Hachiman knows what she's talking about, right? But it's there are bigger fish to fry in his mind from the standpoint of relationships, because there are people that he's known longer than Iroha that he's needing to deal with the same kind of situation and dynamic for. So in a lot of ways, he's handling it in a good way from one sense, because he's not letting it he's not changing the way that he interacts with Iroha, right?
Yes, exactly.
He's handling it very casually, but it could almost be seen as blasé.
Sure. There's an aspect of this where you can kind of question whether or not someone cares about the feelings of another person, because when the feelings of another person are brought forth, you can see the response basically as a measure of their value or weight that they give to the feelings.
Right.
But the tricky thing about feelings is that they're not defined.
Right.
Feelings are very
That's why the confession is so important, because
Exactly,
it's not just saying that I like you in this way. It's trying to communicate feelings to the other person, right?
Yeah, it's putting context within on the feelings. It's putting an attached weight, if you will, to the feelings.
Yes, absolutely.
Because sometimes, and this is something that I really love about their interactions, is that back when Hachiman was much more frustrated about nice girls, Iroha was this breath of fresh air by being a not nice girl that treated him in a lot of ways differently, so that he could, okay, we're playing a game here. This is fun.
Right.
And over the course of time, it seems like she kind of fell for him.
And the
pretty
question,
hard, yeah.
Right, and the question and the thing that it's important for Iroha to be able to clarify is how much has she fallen for him? Because if there's just a little bit of like flirty stuff that might be kind of genuine, that's not necessarily any big deal. That won't necessarily change up the relationship too much, because it's just some mild flirting. But if it gets to be more serious type stuff, and it's do you know how it feels when you say that I'm like a sister? I don't see you as a brother.
Right.
Like, then it's preparing him. It's almost like she's basting him for when she ends up confessing.
Right,
That's
exactly.
coming.
But she keeps putting it off.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple opportunities where she's getting him to realize that that's maybe what she's doing, but she's also realizing that he's not helping her, which means that in a lot of ways he's trying to maybe let her off a little easy by going, hey, I have a role relationship with you that is different from a brother-sister dynamic, but it's not anything like this. You do not see me pushing with you on this. I'm not pushing back against you on this, because maybe that's a little scary for him as well.
Sure.
But I also feel like it's kind of a thing of where they have a really good thing.
Yeah.
And he maybe doesn't want that to change, but...
And Iroha isn't at the point where she's going to do the
really gutsy thing.
I will confess to you, and you know what? Okay, even if you don't like me right now, that's fine. I'm still going to keep trying. She's not playing this with her cards face up on the table.
Right, and that's probably safer for her to do that, because
that's what she's familiar with.
Right, and she's also banking on bigger schemes like the Prom to kind of aid that
5D
later.
chess, crazy complex maneuvers.
She does not need to call She does not need to call any big bets right now.
Right.
She has a lot of chips, and she has a really good connection with Hachiman. So I really, if anything, just want her to be patient. Look at this as objectively as possible. And yes, get a little frustrated when you don't feel like the communication is happening with Hachiman, because saying things like "you're not listening," he hears that and he goes, "Oh shit, I'm not listening. Which part am I not listening to?" Because he is listening for a good chunk of it, but there are little things that she's dropping that there might be a reason as to why he's not letting them go through.
Right. It's the chess versus tic-tac-toe or checkers or whatever, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and I love what you're saying about the patience thing. And Iroha has been doing that. The trouble is, the catch-22 that she's in is that she doesn't have unlimited time. Because when it comes right down to it, he's known Yukino and Yui longer than he's known her. And they're going to leave this school while she's still in it. So she does not have the same time frame that they do, right? She has to make sure that there's a prom this year, right?
Exactly. And Hachiman's really smart, so I give him a lot of credit to be able to understand the
implications,
the surface level implications here. But the differences with this is there's the part where she kind of does her little... They went all out with the fun, smug character.
Oh, yeah. The character animation was wonderful.
But the part where she clears her throat kind of has the, hey, you're kind of like a father. This is a facial expression we have never seen from Iroha.
No.
And, well, I'm just always grateful for you. Now, what's hilarious and also quite sad at this is that this is akin to a confession.
Yep.
It is not a confession, though, because the problem is...
She's been confessing in some not quite ways for a long time now.
Yeah. So this is just another one of those things. Yep. The difference is that she framed it around the idea of I don't like being, basically, or girls or guys don't like being called brother or sister with...
Right. She is specifically talking about the traditional... dynamic between men and women, that people think about when they think about what are the differences,
Right. And then Hachiman, in banter mode here,
goes third person,
yes, to Hachiman, this information came as a brutal shock.
Right, narrating it and everything, yeah.
And then he goes, well, you're blatantly putting me in a different category. And then she's
like,
yes,
that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yep. And then, then she starts talking about the role play of, you can bet they'll end up saying things like, I
can't think of your
my little sister anymore. And he's like, harsh, those lines go together. And she's like, wait, what? And then he says the greatest bit. Yeah. Little sisterhood is a holy, inviolable sanctuary. I want them to ruminate on the concept of little sister and repent. I can't forgive them. And you can... You can feel the meta, just silly joke about it with anime and stuff, and also just Japan's obsession with this. But... Who
the hell would get excited about their, by their little sister, right?
Right. But I just love so much the idea that this is where he takes the banter, and she's like, what? Like, it's the one time where the banter is going, and if he was maybe a little bit listening here, he'd realize that she's not actually following up the banter. When they're in the banter, they snappy.
He's doing comedic responses. She's not giving comedic questions.
Well, right, but she's also not comedically responding to his responses.
Yeah.
Which is usually what they do. And then she gives basically one of the most relatable, frustrating,
and serious, earnest statements that she's ever said to him.
Yeah. Hold on. She says look, all I'm trying to say, that, and then showing the fists clenched on her lap, just like
and the knees pressed together, like
I'm really trying to say something here, but it's making exactly is that when you're talking to girls, guys shouldn't say things like you're like my little sister so freely. Basically saying it hurts when you treat me as only someone that's like a little sister.
Yep.
And then maybe, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, do you think that she shifted into the is this a confession thing because she realized that she was being too obvious with him, or because she was wanting to kind of hit back to the times she's done this stuff before?
I think it's something where she's like, I'm going to do one of the things that I rarely ever do and actually be vulnerable here. I'm going to talk without quips, without comedy, without deflections and obfuscation, and I'm going to be upfront. But there's only so much of that I can do. I'm not used to that. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I'm choosing to do it because I care about you. But
she's not actually being really straightforward.
Well,
that's
right,
the tricky thing.
and that's why afterwards she then immediately throws the smoke and mirrors up again, right? Because she but when she's looking at him even after that, she's not like she seems upset, but also like watching him carefully to see his reactions.
Yeah, and this part here where he's like, yeah, I get it. The double repeating of the two same kind of phrases here.
Dismissive.
It is dismissive, but what it also is it's something where he remembers the times she's done this in the past. And there was a time in the past where that might have had different meaning.
Right.
And he's attributing, I think, that meaning still to the future bit here. And then she's like, wait, what? What's with that attitude? You haven't been listening at all.
Yeah.
I give up. Anyway, I'm counting on you to help. Now, I think that I'm counting on you to help is maybe a little bit of her revenge here because he didn't actually clue into the last bit.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He wasn't listening to her, so she's like, okay, I'm not going to listen to you when you said that you didn't want to help.
Right. And also, because you might not have been listening to everything, because I think in some ways he does kind of get it, it's that he's really, really not wanting to hurt her here.
Right. So then she comes out and says it. After all, I'm not your little sister.
Right.
With a smile on her face.
Right. But I wasn't listening, meaning that he doesn't respond after that bit of, after all, I'm not your little sister, because at that moment, I think right there he goes, oh. He blushes, sees her walk away. He doesn't say anything after that. I think right there he ruminates on the conversation and goes,
I think I get it.
I think I kind of get it. And now we don't see him necessarily have that, but
right. But then they go back to talking in the student council room or whatever, and it's for the most part
all business
as usual.
Right. Now they're getting a video set up for prom, which I love that they're like taking this super seriously for Iroha's sake. But what I'm really excited about is that if Yukino is taking this seriously, she's got something planned as well.
Yes.
And that's
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Iroha makes the apology for how she treated Yukino in the past, which is kind of like a way of it's a way of saying basically, I acknowledge that I am not your first priority.
Right.
And when it comes right down to it, it's probably Yukino.
Yep.
So because I don't want you to think badly of me because I do like you, I am going to
make up with Yukino.
I'm going to make up with Yukino, even though by admitting that, it's kind of like admitting defeat in a way because I'm saying that I know you care about her more than me, but I'm going to do it because I care about you.
And also because I think she's mature enough now.
Yes.
She's grown a lot. She's able to understand that I am playing the long game, in that I still have at least until this year is over. So I need to take this small L
in the
here.
end, right. In the end, I would want a full victory anyway, so I need to do this.
I need to do
first.
this now. And you can tell she really wanted to be done with it when he starts to treat her a little bit like a little sister here. This was something I would bring up.
Oh, sure.
When he starts to be like, well, even if you told me in advance, I would have complained a bit and then done it anyway, even if, hold on. And, well, what I'm saying is that you don't have to be so down. Yep, you're right. And just immediately.
I'll try and cheer you up. I'll try and, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to seriously try to get myself in the right mindset.
Girl.
That means sometime in the next few episodes or so, it's game time, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's throwing down the gauntlet. Yeah.
And in some ways, I feel like it's all going to come to a head with potentially Yui and Iroha maybe making some kind of a move. But that's probably going to wait a bit until the prom is actually well underway.
We've got this nice fake prom little thing that we have here, and it's wonderful, right? Nice rehearsal, setting expectations.
Yeah. And Iroha's little bit with Yukino was starting to kind of throw those little bits of the
I'm not out of the fight, right? Exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
We are enemies in this.
Also, I'm sure in a lot of ways, Iroha's genius a little bit here is by framing her as the dainty little feminine, princess next to Yukino, wearing the much more traditionally masculine suit and stuff like that. She's like, imagine if this was you and me.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah. Well, and who is it that actually sends him to go check on Yui? Is that Iroha?
I believe it's actually Yukino. I'm not sure.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yukino.
Yeah, it's Yukino. Yeah. Because they're a lot more comfortable just kind of calling each other and being like, "Hey, can you do something?" Like Iroha's a little bit more bantery before like making demands or requests. Well, not really.
But it's a different way.
It's a different way, yeah. And poor Yui, like there's so many times where you can see that she's like, I feel really put upon in this situation here, and I'm not necessarily prepared for anything like this.
And there are so many parts of me that don't feel comfortable in this situation, almost specifically once Hachiman shows up.
Yeah. And of course. Also, Kawasaki just being like, I'm done with this shit. Like, I'm trying to just help.
Trying to help out. I'll do what I can, but okay. Now I'm just gonna leave the two of you here. I'm gonna go home where it's quiet and I can have some sensible conversations with myself.
And I mean, also she just had the her younger brother.
Yes,
definitely.
That bit there.
So she's like, I'm ready to go home already.
Right.
I found it rather interesting that Hachiman kind of is being a little bit, sympathetic and being like, "Hey, sounds like we called you in on short notice. Sorry." Oh. And then she says, "You sure did," which, pointed She doesn't look at both of them and go, "You all sure did."
Right.
And you can mean plural. I totally get that.
Sure.
But the fact that she kind of looks a bit like frustrated here.
Yeah, it felt kind of like a thing of, because Yukino is doing a lot of the stuff to head this up, and she is the president of the service club, that it's kind of like this kind of feels like something that the service club is doing, even if Yukino's the only one that's doing it. So, he sort of shares responsibility for her being called out on short notice. But
yeah. But I loved this little bit of dialogue here. The idea that she's like, "Hey, I don't care about the public one. I'm here for the private copy.
I'm here for the
real thing
one.
The genuine one, exactly. The one where I'm going to remember it this way. I don't care how everyone else sees it. This is what it's going to mean
because
to
this
me.
is precious to me, and I would not let something like that get deleted."
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so sweet. And then he called the heck out of it of needing to escort her down because of the tall heels.
Yep. But then also the idea that he's doing the watch out for the long hem of your dress and the high heels and things like that. Very much the looking out for you kind of dynamic, right?
You could say big brother kind of.
Yep. And people's feelings can get hurt very easily that way. And then when he actually offers her his arm, originally she's like holding on to it with a hand, but like that's not how people usually do that. It's the arm in arm, right?
You know what it feels like?
What?
Wash, tell me I'm pretty. You are pretty.
Oh no.
And that's it.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Were I unwed, I would take you in a manly fashion. It's that kind of thing of where it's Kaylee. It's Kaylee from Firefly just having that thing of like But that has a happy ending.
Yeah, that has, my biggest regret is not being with you. With me, you mean to say as in
sex? Yeah.
To hell with this. I'm gonna live.
But okay. So they're gonna do a little bit more filming, and then they want Yui and Hachiman to be the folks at the shot. Again, that's Yukino requesting it, and you said that Yukino also knows how to play dirty.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So there's very much the possibility that Yukino actually doesn't mean anything by it in that way, because she is she's more socially oblivious than Yui is, right?
In some ways, more than even Hachiman is.
Oh, totally.
Like way more than Hachiman
is. Like way more. Like
yeah.
That's the whole point, right? Of her whole paladin nature and stuff, right? She's focused, right? And as a result of that, she can have blinders on, right?
Yep, very much so.
And and I feel like there are a couple different ways to take this, because taking it from the standpoint of the relationships driving them apart as friends, this is an example of where Yukino is doing something that is causing pain potentially to Yui, and she doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and and that's not her fault necessarily.
No, totally.
But it's something where I very much feel like the intent here is important, because we are an objective, hopefully, third party with omniscient perspective for a lot of ways here. So
our perspective on the situation is
removed,
objective, because there isn't like a perspective character for the show where everything is filtered through their lenses and biases and stuff.
For the most part, it's been that way with Hachiman,
right?
But there have been times where they shifted around a bit. So I wouldn't say that she's playing dirty.
So she might not be. She might not be. But that is something that.
But it felt like that to you because you were like, damn it.
Well, no. If it wasn't Yukino, that move could have very easily have been playing dirty. But I'll give Yukino the benefit of the doubt that it's not. But even if it's not, that's something where it's again a consequence of the fact that. I'm not just talking about Hachiman and Yukino or Hachiman and Yui, but that Yui and Yukino have not talked about their mutual feelings for the same person. As a result of that, it is causing pain, right? That's something that needs to get fixed at some point, right?
Definitely.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to see how this plays out. And that's why I love Yui's thing of saying, I want it all, right?
Right.
Because it's not just the question of who's going to end up with who, right? Any love triangle can do that, but the thing is that a love triangle has 3 sides, not just 2, right? Otherwise, that's just an upside down V or something, right? Like, that's different. So I am very excited to see how we get to the point where, thematically, Yui and Yukino are dancing like in the OP, right?
Yeah.
Where everything's good, they've addressed the concerns, there may be some crazy music going on and they need to be careful not to step on each other's toes. But you know what? They have this great connection, and throughout all the craziness and the chaos and the bumps along the way, they're moving to the beat of the music.
Yeah, and they go to have that time spent on the beach together in the ED. It's going to be wholesome.
Yep.
So, another thing, Yui very much in the transition bit from when they go to get into the focus shot, and right before that, when after they get request, Yui has a downcast look at the end of the bit where she's being requested, and at the beginning of the point where she's about to be in the focus shot. She does not lose that face, though, until Hachiman asks her, wait, so do you know how to dance? And she's like, well, actually, like, no. But, you know, yay, you can jump up
It'll be fine.
Yeah. You know what this is? I don't know how to do it, but I can pretend. I can make it feel like I'm dancing and I know what I'm doing.
And this is why I love Yui as a character, because when we're young, or at any point in our life, really, we're constantly making things up as we go along.
Yeah.
We don't truly know what we should do, right? It's a lot of guesswork and just giving it your best shot and hoping it works out, right? And that kind of energy, for Yui can be an incredible strength, because then it's okay.
Right.
Just go for it. Wing it. Shoot from the hip. You know, what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
Well, a lot of bad things could happen, but you'll be able to handle that, right? The weakness of that, though, is the whole thing of, I do that as a way to protect myself, not as a way to actually be vulnerable.
Yeah, which is what it, for the most part, is.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really excited to see how her arc gets resolved in, this final season of the show, because there's the line between those two is thin. It can be crossed over at any moment. And from the first season to the second season, we saw her cross it over in the negative direction, right? In the regressing side, because all of a sudden she's starting to really get scared, right? But you can beat those fears, Yui.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing you really have to worry about, right? Like all the rest of everything that'll figure itself out, somehow, right? But work on you.
Tobey comes in, though, and he's like, come on, man, you gotta get lost in the sound, and let's go, and we're gonna have a great time. What I loved here, and this was so funny, is that from out of nowhere, Iroha comes in. Tobey, that's enough of that. You can be quiet now. Oh my god. Do you know what this is?
She's basically saying, don't encourage him to actually have too much fun dancing with Yui.
Well, that's reading too much into it.
Okay.
But I'm 3 steps behind that, which is basically just I'm watching Hachiman constantly. If people come in and get up all in his business, I get frustrated by that.
Yep.
Which shows where her eyes are at in this
Definitely.
bit here, where she's being the admin. Because in a lot of ways, what Toby was saying was really helpful.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh yeah.
So it has nothing to do with what he's saying. It's just the fact that he's getting into Hachiman's airspace. Basically.
She's getting a bit jealous because she's starting to realize, that I know that he doesn't like me that way right now, but at the same time, I don't like the idea of him being with other people, even if it's just some random dude that's like, hey, here's some advice.
Okay, I feel like that's a bit too far. I feel like that's a bit too far. I feel like what I was just trying to make the point of is when you are in a conversation or in a group dynamic, look where someone is facing. Whoever they're facing at, whoever they're looking towards, tells you who they feel is most important in the room.
Yeah.
And Iroha comes in and plays basically a role that we've rarely seen her play, which is basically I'm going to take my massive sword and just go, like, no warning, and no real provocation, really.
No, and she was far away in the room. Like,
exactly.
It's not like she was nearby and stuff. Like, she was on the opposite side of the camera, right? And she was moving into camera, like into the camera view. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. Then they get to have a sweet little moment. Hachiman's, having the whole thing of, being sweaty and gross. And, well, you're overreacting. That's just self-hatred. And Yeah, it's a really sweet little moment here. And then
And
they get into the wild dancing, and they're just kind of moving their bodies, shaking around, just having a good time. And then Hachiman gets a little bird's eye view from the stage, and he's like, okay, so this is a prom. Yeah. It's definitely not me.
Yeah.
And what I really love about this here was that, yes, it was uncomfortable. It was something that, you know, wasn't really something he disliked in the sense of like, oh, I hated it. But when he kind of gets the full picture of it, he's then able to kind of go, yeah,
Nah.
I'm not about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Not my style.
right. This is going to come back in the real form later. And it's not going to be exactly the same.
He was saying that while looking at all of them dancing, among whom was Yui, who was previously his dance partner.
Oh, okay, that's a bit...
Maybe
Remember,
I'm
he's talking about the prom. He's
totally.
he's talking in broad
Yeah,
strokes here.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think he was saying that he didn't enjoy dancing with her.
Oh,
That's why I think it's important to make the distinction that he was talking about the prom being not him. But in dancing with Yui, he didn't make some like, ugh.
no.
I didn't like that.
No. I think even if it was what I was suggesting, I wouldn't think that it would be that in any form of conscious way.
Okay.
But that
sure.
it's a something from the subconscious bubbling up to the surface, and Hachiman wouldn't even think that that's what he was, that's what was going on underneath.
Right. I do have a general philosophy that most people, when they say things like this, there is an element of choice in it.
Okay.
And that's why I don't usually subscribe to that idea that it was something like really that connected to it.
I'm just meaning with if there were any additional connection between the idea of prom and Yui.
Okay.
With regards to the prom, totally.
Sure,
that's
sure.
Hachiman consciously being like, yeah, this is my thing, you know. But yeah.
Because he did kind of smile right before saying, man, this is so not me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right, because that's the love triangles wouldn't hurt if one of the parties wasn't cared about. You know, right? Like that's
Okay.
Yeah. So
What I feel like this is, though, is this is the implications for the future, is that there are parties involved that will probably try to weaponize, if you will,
the prom
the
to
prom,
get closer to him, and it's just not going to work.
and it's not going to work. And there's one character who's really actually trying to do that primarily.
Iroha?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like Iroha.
So who gets prom king and queen?
Yukino and Yui.
Wait,
Yukino and Yui.
no, let's be serious here. Come on. Who actually gets prom king and queen here? Because I think there's a possibility that Hachiman gets prom king.
I think there's a good possibility that Hachiman gets prom king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're setting this whole thing up here so early, is that
Right.
there's going to be a point where he's on stage.
and I guess
he's
that-
getting the, ooh, you
And
know.
if that's the
all
case,
the
then it
pomp
really
and flair.
kind of boils down to who he's there with.
Right, exactly.
So and
And we know what Iroha's scheming.
right, but that's
We
probably
don't
not going to
know-
work.
We don't know what Yukino is trying to get the most of
I'm
out
pretty
of
sure-
the immediate sense of this.
I think Yukino's actually gonna ask him to go to the prom with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because here's one of the reasons why I think that.
So is he going to get asked like 3 different times?
But this is what kind of breaks my heart.
He's going to go with Sai.
No, is that this was him going with Yui,
Ah,
right?
okay. And that's why you brought the subconscious thing?
Exactly.
I see.
And
I see.
then with
Sure.
with Iroha, she's the other one that's really going to be gunning for this, but it's not going to work out. Right? And Yui might also consciously ask if she works up the courage. Good for her if she does, but she might not. I don't know. But then Yukino, she has the level of investment into this whole event, which could just be there's an event and I want to make sure it goes well.
Oh.
But it could also be that there's an event and I'm going to use it in order to do something that scares me. And as such, I want to have my hands... I have a very much hands-on approach with the event to make sure that it's perfect, kind of, so that way she feels as comfortable as possible with taking that leap of faith. And that's what I think is going to happen. And then if Hachiman ends up being prom king, then Yukino would be prom queen.
But you know, it'd be so depressing here, just in general.
Hachiman doesn't go.
No.
Oh.
No. Imagine you're Hachiman, right? One of those 3 girls comes up and directly asks you to prom.
Yep.
First thing you do is you're like, oh, I'm not really a prom kind of guy. But they look at you seriously and they're like, no, I really want to go with you.
This is serious.
Can you say no to any of them? Now, what this brings up is, and this is gamer terms
hasn't
here.
Ever done it before.
No. Just think about this in terms of if any of the three of them asked, mathematically, in my opinion, the best chance any of them has of getting to go with Hachimon is that they ask first. I'm straight up saying right now that what might happen is that someone is about to ask and they're literally 5 minutes too late.
And that's what I think.
That is a classic high school tale.
And that's what I'm guessing it's going to be with
said yes
Yui.
to someone else.
That's what I'm guessing it's going to be with Yui. Whether it's Yukino or Iroha that asks.
Regardless,
Right, it's going to be something where then Yui basically backs off. I hope that doesn't happen. If it does happen, I'll still be okay. And that'll just mean that Yui's moment will be around a different set of circumstances, right?
Hopefully more of a group dynamic based one, where we get a kind of a similar I want something genuine moment, but
you know it would be the worst thing though.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say Iroha asks first.
Okay, so he goes with Iroha.
He goes with Iroha. But the thing is, now she did just say, "I'm not your little sister," right?
Right.
But
she gets turned down at prom.
Kind of, yeah. Where it's the thing of the, I'm going with you, but I'm just going with you, right? It's the best friends where it's like you don't want to go to prom alone, right? So it's like, hey, you want to go to prom, like that kind of thing.
That could happen too. Yeah, I really like the way this is set up because it does bring things into a how will the dice fall? We have no way of really being able to guess based on what they've set up thus far. It's going to come down to little micro decisions made by a lot of the characters.
But if it does end up being something where there's some dramatic conflict or whatever between Yukino and Yui over the fact that they both like Hachiman, and then they end up talking it over at prom, and then they dance together and both end up being made prom king and queen.
That would be awesome.
That's like personal fan fiction territory there.
I feel like that's going to be relegated to the ED. Maybe.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of thing where it's like, hey, the OP might have some awesome stuff in there, right?
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that that's actually going to happen in the show.
And we know that there's a possibility here that Iroha scheming means she might even rig things for the prom king and queen.
That was 100%. I mean, we talked about that. That's what she was intending with the whole her and Yukino thing, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, y'all, great episode. Lots of stuff to talk about. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.